guys, so today we're going to be talking about unit rates. We're on the foldable that looks like this right over here. You should have watched the video on what a unit rate is a couple of days ago. It briefly introduced it. Today we're going to learn how to calculate it. If you open up the foldable, you should see these three definitions right at the top. A rate is a comparison of two quantities that have different units. What are units? Well, units are your feet, your miles, your inches, your gallons. All of those are different examples of units. If you look at $19.50 right over here for 3 burgers, well, these are two different dollars and burgers are two different units, and these are comparing quantities, 1950 and 3, with two different units, right? Okay, a unit rate, on the other hand, though, is a type of rate that has a denominator of 1. So instead of a 3, it would have a 1, and that would be a unit rate. An example of that is 45 miles over 1 hour, or 45 miles per hour. A complex fraction is a fraction that has a fraction in its numerator, denominator, or both. An example of that would be 2/3 over 4/5. It has a fraction in the numerator and a fraction in the denominator, and that is called a complex fraction. Okay. If you move down, we're looking at example 1 on that same page. It says Jennifer lives 348 miles from her aunt. 348 miles, important information. If it took her 6 hours to get to her aunt's house, what was her average speed in miles per hour? So they want to know her average speed in miles per hour. Well, remember, guys, per hour just means that we need to find what 1 hour, what the speed was in 1 hour. So in 6 hours, she traveled 348 miles. In 6 hours, well, in order to get 1 in the denominator, because remember, that's what we're looking for, miles per hour per 1 hour, we would have to divide the 6 by 6, because whenever you divide one number by itself, you end up with 1. So dividing the bottom, or the denominator, by 6 will get us 1 hour. And whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator. So again, we're going to divide the numerator by 6 also. 58 miles is what we get for the numerator. So our answer for her average speed is 58 miles per hour. 58 miles per hour. Go ahead and try example 2. Should be very similar. Okay, example 3, Julia noticed her pool was filling at a rate of 3/4 of a gallon per 10 seconds, or 1/6 of a minute. What is the unit rate in gallons per minute? So again, per minute, meaning for every 1 minute. So let's set this up first. We're going to have our gallons per minute, so our gallons have to go on the top. 3/4 of a gallon every 1/6 of a minute. And the reason we're using minutes is because we want our answer to be in minutes. If they had asked for seconds, we would have gone with seconds. But let's go with the minutes. 1/6 of a minute, right? So just like we did in example 1, we got our denominator to equal 1. We're doing the same exact thing over here. Well, how would we make our denominator a 1? Well, if we had a 6 in the numerator over here, it would end up with a 1, because 6 divided by 6 gives us a 1. So if we multiply the denominator by 6 over 1, we would end up with a 6 over 6, right? So that would equal 1 minute. And then again, whatever we do to the denominator, we must do to the numerator. And if we multiplied the denominator by 6 over 1, that's the same thing as multiplying by just 6. So we're going to multiply the numerator by 6. So 6 times 3 is 18. And then there's that invisible 1 underneath. So 4 times 1 just gives us 4 gallons. So we're not quite done yet because we still have 18 over 4 over 1. Well, whatever number you have in the numerator divided by 1, it's just the number itself. So we know it's going to be 18 over 4. When we simplify that, well, 4 goes into 18 4 times with a remainder of 2 over 4, or 4 1/2. And our units are gallons per minute. So our final answer is 4.5 gallons per minute, right? So again, your goal is to get a 1 in the denominator whenever it asks per any kind of unit, per minute, per mile, per hour. Okay, last one. A complex, or sorry, not a complex fraction. Example 5. George can mow 1 acre in 1/2 hour. We'll use complex fractions for this. Mark mows 2/5 of an acre in 1/4 of an hour. What are each of their unit rates in acres per hour? And who mows at a faster rate? So there's actually 2 questions in this last example. First, we have to figure out what their unit rates are in acres per hour, so every 1 hour, and then who mows at a faster rate. So if we look at the top one, 1 acre in 1/2 hour, so that's for George. Let's figure George out first. 1 acre in 1.5 hour. So again, we want to try and get that denominator to equal 1. How do we do that? Well, we're going to multiply by 2, right? Because when you multiply by 2, you end up with 2 over 2, which gives us a 1 hour. And then whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator, so 2 acres. So our answer for George is George mows 2 acres per hour. And then for Mark, well, Mark mows 2/5 of an acre in 1/4 of an hour. Again, same thing. We want to try to get our denominator to equal 1 because we're looking for per hour. So when we multiply the bottom by 4, we end up with 1 hour on the bottom or in the denominator, and then 4 times 2 is 8 over 5 acres. And when we simplify this, we end up with 1 3/5 of an acre, or acres per hour. So now, when we compare the 2 rates, well, George mows 2 acres per hour and Mark mows 1 3/5 acres per hour. It's much easier to compare the 2 rates when we have them each per hour than when it was 1/2 an hour and 1/4 of an hour, right? So that's the reason why we calculate unit rates. Go ahead and finish example 2, 4, and 6 for homework, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.